Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today we're going to talk about Traxos. Traxos has no downside if he is your general, because you got probably 60 cards to untap him. That being said, he is a 4 mana 7/7 with vigilance, kind of, sort of, after a fashion. Anyway, he does come into play tapped, and if you play any except 3 spells in this deck, he will untap. I actually do have the deck list up on Tapped Out. I'll try to put it in the show notes. And it's not a okay. I was going to do tribal constructs. I had set out when I saw the spoiler. I was going to do tribal constructs. I actually pulled this guy in my pre-release, and he was outstanding, especially in 20 life games, But effectively, if he is your general, you're to 21 life gain, and he has that magical 7 power, so it's 3 hits, and it's just such a beautiful thing. So I didn't want to, I hate to use the term, waste this general with a tribal construct. So there are remnants of the construct deck in here. As I get better cards or more apt, I'll probably replace them. But let's go over the 3 cards that are not artifacts, that are not untapping your general first. First off, we have Scour from Existence. It is a colorless removal spell, and it's permanent, so it's whatever is bothering you. Warping Whale, what I've called the Eldrazi Charm, and then Spatial Contortion. Those are essentially 3 removal spells. Don't have a ton of removal. I mean, I have Universal Solvent. From now on, everything is an artifact, except for when we get to the... I'll go over some of the non-basics because there's a bunch. But every spell that we cast now is untapping our general. So, Universal Solvent for 1, and with enough mana, it can destroy a blocker. Brittle Effigy. Same thing for 1 and then 4. And, of course, for repeatableness, the Hell Vault is pretty cool. I guess first, though, we should probably look at our ramp. Because in this deck, it is so beautiful. Ramp is good early to help you power him out, and ramp is good late to untap him. So we're going to start off, of course, with a Soul Ring. And I guess Living the Dream would be turn 1 Soul Ring into Helm of Awakening. Helm of Awakening is kind of that double-edged sword because it does... I need to stop using that. Kamal would whoop my ass if I... Anyway, it does make everybody's spell cost less, but you got a ton of stuff that's just free. And I don't know that your opponents have built their deck to abuse it as much as we have. Let's go through the rest. It's just a lot of rocks. Many of them subpar. I didn't want to use like Gilded Lotuses and stuff like that because those are, well, number one, they cost more than the general, and if you're trying to wrap out your general, that kind of doesn't help. And, any colorless mana rock works in this deck. Seer's Lantern also scries. It's card selection, which is a big deal because it's not like we've got a whole lot of card draw or card selection in here. So Seer's Lantern was an early pick for me. Sisay's Ring does cost the same as the general, but maybe. Magnifying Glass. And if nothing else, you get to investigate. Now, keep in mind, when you get the clue, you have to cast the artifact in order to untap Traxos. You can't just, get tokens or whatever. Guardian Idol. Mannequin. Hedron Crawler. A lot of these are dudes. Plague Mirror. And, of course, Power Stone Shard. Now, Blink Moth Urn is just made for this deck. It's exactly what you want to do for each artifact you control. So you can have some pretty explosive turns, provided you have cards in hand. Now, you get the Blink Moth Urn, you dump out your hand, it will enable your Ore to draw 3 cards. Actually, 4, because you're drawing 3 at the beginning of your upkeep, and then your draw step. So, anyway. Also, all of everybody's lands are cantrip spells, so that's pretty sweet. Crystal Ball is a little more card selection. Otherworld Atlas. Otherworld Atlas, we're being fair with Otherworld Atlas here. There's not a whole lot of untap ways. I don't have that clock, because this is not... Yeah, Traxos and the clock by itself is awesome, but I honestly didn't feel like I needed the clock, because every single card untaps him. You know, I am playing with weird stuff like, you know, the Voltaic Key and the Puppet Strings, but that's almost as much to feign some vigilance as anything else. But Staff of Nin is some card draw for us, a personal Howling Mine. I didn't want to give, you know, everybody everything. We're already making everything cheaper, and we're all drawing cards and play lands. I didn't want to, like, you know, mono silver group hug, if you will. And of course, Mind's Eye. Now, Mind's Eye, I ain't got to tell you how good this is, especially in a deck where we're going to generate some mana. Let's look at some creatures here. Now, kind of one of the reasons why the construct thing stuck out in my head was this guy. I mean, he regrows a permanent. Anything you got, pretty much, because everything you got's historic. Lupine Prototype's another construct. He's kind of a holdout, and I don't... Not real strong. I mean, he needs to be in a black discard deck. I know that. But, I don't know. Maybe I need to put the Lupine Prototype in the Tribal Specters that I'm building. I don't know. Let's see if we'll just... Okay, reason for the party here. Host of the party is the Moccasin Golem. I mean, he is amazing. He does not cost 11. Just like this guy does not cost 11. But Moccasin Golem gives all your artifact creatures affinity. Now, I am playing with some that already have affinity, you know, the Frogmite and the Mirror Enforcer. But when everything has affinity, you know, yes, Darksteel and Blightsteel, the Bash Brothers, would go perfect in here. But it's not about them. It's not. It's about Traxos. Darksteel Jugs was just a easy play to call. I could not put him in. Junk Diver, obviously going to get back good stuff that we need. The Sandstone Oracle is a dude that flies, which is, I mean, it's hard to do in straight colorless. Well, it's not really hard to do, but finding a ability that you want to pay for. And it draws you some cards, because somebody's going to have more cards than you. Voltaic Construct, just untap an artifact creature, like Traxos, or what have you. Shimmer Mirror is the, I don't know, was he the beverage server of the party? I don't know. They all have flash. I mean, your artifact cards, so, yeah, so I think our 3 non-artifact cards are already instants, I don't, 2 instants and a sorcery? Can't remember. Anyway, most of your deck is going to be instant speed, so that's a good thing. Our Sad Robot's pretty good if he has affinity. You know, if he's free, I mean, he's awesome at 4, but at free, he's some kind of good. And he's an artifact you can get back with all of these other various, you know, Jorah's Familiar. It's going to make your deck cost 1 less again. Chief of the Foundry, and y'all are expecting the next card to be artifacts cost 1 from Kaladesh, but it's not in here because I don't have any more, and I feel sad about it. Treasure Keeper has Dying Cascade, I guess. It's Voltic Servant, obviously the card that was made for Traxos. I mean, it's not bad. It works. Skittering Surveyor. This is our It's not a wood elf because it doesn't put it into play, but it puts it into your hand, so it's the crappy wood elf. But it does have a 2 toughness, so I don't know if that's a thing. Aether Glider is a holdover from the construct build, but it is, I mean, it's a cheap flyer, and we've got a little bit of equipment, not a whole lot. Scrap Trawler does work. Y'all know that. I mean, another artifact you control. It's put into the graveyard, return. Yeah, nice. And of course, I got the Trike. Love the Trike. There ain't no crazy infinite ways to abuse it or anything, but I do like me some Trike. And it's also a holdover from the construct deck. I need to. Now, the first equipment that went in, some people are doing the Voltron thing with him, and that's cool, but I don't know. I kind of just wanted to untap him and, punch people 3 times with him. Anyway, this gives it vigilance, which is sweet, and makes it that magical 10 power. I say magical 10's not really a thing. I guess the next step up from 7 is 11, because that's a 2-hit kill. But vigilance, pretty neat. Loxodon Warhammer, we don't have a whole lot of life gain, actually. Yeah, this is it. This is all life gain. Volshout Gauntlets does not have a drawback here. Now, the drawback is there because it's too cheap. It's 2 to cast, 3 to equip, so you're going to equip it on your turn 1 drop. That's the reason why they costed it that way. It's like, it don't untap. Guess what? We don't care. Our guy don't untap as normal anyway. So, double strike's a real thing. I guess, I mean, it's totally. Darksteel Plate, by the way, I was amazed. I didn't really look at the Elves versus Inventors. I know it's the last duel deck, but I was amazed at what was in there. I just picked one up randomly, and both of those have some really good cards. I mean, I'm obviously not going to keep them together. I'm going to cannibalize them for y'all for EDH decks because, as of Dominaria being released, there are 794 creatures. Legendary creatures is what Gatherer tells me. Now, a lot of those, not a lot, some of those are silver border, some of those are banned, so that's not and Gatherer will list those creatures from Kamigawa that don't start off legendary that flip into legendary, so it lists those. So that number is not exactly, it's hard to depend on Gatherer for that number. I'm actually compiling a Excel spreadsheet of every possible general from every possible set, and marking them off as I go. As I build them and video them and show them to you guys, I'll highlight them, and so that's the end goal. Because y'all know me, I'm doing them all. We got Whisper Silk Cloak, which doesn't really work with any of the other equipment, but making it unblockable, that's got a cost, and it's not bad. And you're not always going to have your Rogue's Passage, even though y'all know I've got it in the deck because it's sweetness, and I bought 500. But the last equipment is Kite Sail, and Kite Sail is in there because it's funny, and I love it. I love the ability to, because nobody expects Traxos to fly, because that would just 8/7 flyer. Yeah, that's not broken. That's fair and balanced magic. The rest of what I have is like cutesy little stuff. I do have a spell book, just in case the card drawing gets out of hand. You do have those group hug players. It's a very popular strategy, and I don't have to discard a bunch of junk. Turmoid's Crypt's going to nerf that graveyard deck that we're so worried about. Felden's Cane. I got signed in Memphis by Mr. Mark Teeden. He's amazing. Fun guy, by the way. Going to shuffle you back up just in case you get that. Yeah, the elixir's a little better, net you some life, but I really, really like the Felden's Cane. Lodestone Mirror, dude, that can get ridiculous if there comes a time, because there are cards that deal with your commander that don't put it back in the command zone. I don't foresee us having a problem paying for him, but in case he gets turned into a stump or loses all abilities, whatever, y'all know those enchantment cards I'm talking about. This guy can get in and kind of do a Suedo kind of, beat down for you. Orbs of Warding is going to keep Danny's curses off of us. I love it. It's especially those Diabolic Eating type effects. Now, Wayfarer's Bauble, of course, is going to get a basic land, which I'm so glad we have basic colorless lands now. Diamonds. Diamonds all the way. I am playing with the new Dampening Sphere. There's only a couple of cards that work against us, but let's face it, we are probably... I mean, I don't have a way to search out Tron, but I got it in there because I really don't have any cards that count waste. So I figured, why not? I mean, 1 out of every million games, I'm going to naturally draw Tron, but it's going to feel great when it happens. And more than likely, I won't even be playing it at that time. Anytime I play, I bring, 10, 12 decks with me, and a lot of other people will play them. But anyway, there's the Tron lands, for what it's worth. And then I have the Shrine. Those are the only lands that could possibly tap for more than 2 colors, or for more than 2 mana. So the Dampening Sphere is really not, not hurting us. I'm planning on abusing Dampening Sphere in a red artifact deck. I'm just saying. Mana Flare, Dampening Sphere. You guys have fun. Anyway, but that's the reason why I've got Dampening Sphere in there, because all the Mana Flare type cards, Zendikar Resurgent, the one, there's a bunch of them. Here we go. Also, Cabal Coffers. Nice land, bro. Last card is, of course, Defense Grid. We don't have a lot of instants, and our Shimmer Mirror is not exactly, we can't really bank on it because it's not like I'm tutoring for it. But, so let's look at the rest of our non-basic lands. We got, of course, the Ruins of Oran Reef, the Darksteel Citadel, which, by the way, does not untap him because you don't cast land. Phyrexia's Core is not gonna zoom. Is that a real thing? Or are we almost to the end and it's not gonna? There we go. Zhalfir and Void, I'm putting in a ton of decks. Like, this is an uncommon I'm gonna run out of quick, because in single color, to where you're not fighting for availability for 2 different color mana, in a monocolor deck, this is an amazing card. It is a free scry. Free scry. It doesn't even come into play tapped. That's amazing. And I'm thinking hard about it on some 2-color land or 2-color decks, because if you got those Rav bounce lands. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Of course, we have a Tech Edge and a Ghost Quarter to deal with those pesky, Maze of Is. Urza's Factory, just a slow grind. There's not really enough assembly workers to do a tribe yet, but I'll get pretty close. Quicksand removal, of course, Buried Ruin. Got to have Buried Ruin. Radiant Fountain, because why not? It doesn't come into play tapped. And our last non-basic is, of course, Tower of the Magistrate. This I debated on not putting in here, but I did. It does unequip. I mean, you can target your opponent's Voltron, and if it doesn't have Hexproof or Shroud, you can just unequip all their equipment off of it. Just like that. Anyway, that is what I have got for Traxos. I do appreciate you watching. That's another one down off the Dominaria list. Y'all let me know what you think. Right now, we're going to shuffle and cut.